The shifting room. When I first moved into the townhouse on Lambert Street, I thought I'd found a steal. Cheap rent, close to work, and a quiet neighborhood. The landlord seemed eager to get me to sign the lease, which I assumed was just because the market was slow. He didn't even blink when I asked why the previous tenants had moved out so quickly. They just had personal reasons, he said, brushing it off with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I should have walked away then. The house had its quirks. It was old with the kind of creaks and groans you get used to. But it was the upstairs second bedroom, or whatever it was, that unsettled me. Sometimes it looked like a proper bedroom, small but functional, with faded wallpaper and an old drafty window. Other times it was more like a storage closet, narrower, darker, and definitely not fit for living. I figured maybe the lighting or my memory was playing tricks on me. That's what I told myself anyway. The first few nights were fine. I'd hear the occasional groan from the floorboards, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then one night I went upstairs to grab a jacket from the closet, except it wasn't a closet anymore. The room was larger than it had been earlier in the day, with a single wooden chair in the center and no sign of my jacket. The wallpaper was different too. Where before it had been a dull, peeling floral pattern, now it was striped, a faded green and white that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. I laughed it off, uneasy but unwilling to dwell on it. Maybe I was just tired. It was when I decided to clean out the boxes that things really started to unravel. The boxes had been there since I moved in, stacked haphazardly in the corner of the shifting room. They were coated in dust, and I assumed they were junk left behind by the previous tenants. Inside the first box was a photo album. The cover was leather, cracked with age, and the latch was rusted shut. When I pried it open, I found Polaroids. Dozens of them. Each photo was of the room. At first, I didn't notice anything strange. The pictures showed the room with different furnishings. An old bed, a wooden dresser, curtains that didn't match the ones I'd seen when I moved in. I thought maybe it was the landlord documenting past tenants. But then I noticed the figure. In the corner of every photo stood someone, or something. At first, I thought it was a mannequin, with its hunched posture and the way its head tilted slightly to one side. But in the next photo, it had moved. Its head was turned more sharply, as though it had noticed the camera. By the time I reached the last photo, it was standing directly in front of the lens, its face a smudged blur. My hands were shaking when I closed the album. That night, I locked the door to the shifting room. I wasn't sure what I was protecting myself from, but the act made me feel a little less insane. Around midnight, I heard the door creak open, slowly, deliberately. I didn't get up to check. The next morning, I found the door ajar and the chair from the previous night sitting in the middle of the hallway. I haven't gone back in the room since. Sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, I hear faint footsteps above me, pacing back and forth. The landlord says it's just the house settling, but I've started sleeping with the lights on. And the chair, it's back in the room now. But every morning, it's facing the door, waiting.